Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we're taking a closer look at week 7 of the college football season. Our analyst here, Austin's going to be breaking down some of these key games, giving his thoughts and analysis on what we've seen so far, specifically with how it plays into the college football playoffs. And if you guys are new to Utility Sports, hit that subscribe button. We are becoming the hub of college football discussion here on YouTube, trying to really build up our base, talking about a lot of the college football season, how it's going to impact the college football playoffs. We always do the AP top 25 polls. We also take a really close look at the NFL draft specifically, kind of how it impacts going forward throughout the process leading up to the combine and the actual draft. So this is a great place for you guys to be. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. And without further ado, Austin, let's jump into the games here, starting with UCF going into Cincinnati against the 5-0 Bearcats. At the start of last year, you had indicated this team, specifically the Bearcats, as a team to watch on the rise for this season. They've got a lot of nice players on that team. A lot of guys are going to be first-round draft picks or early day 2 draft picks. Talk about what the Bearcats really do well, and are you in consensus with 98% of America here on this pick?
Now let's highlight 2 players here. Ahmad Gardner is one of them. He's going to very likely be a top 20 pick at the cornerback position. He's their big defensive impact guy, really shuts down one side of the field. And the other guy is Desmond Ridder, the guy who was potentially looked at as a top 3 Heisman candidate heading into this season. And we look at the Cincinnati Bearcat team. They've been on the rise the last couple of seasons. Now, the thing about them, they are very, very experienced. That's why we're seeing it all start to click. I didn't think that they would ascend all the way into the 3rd ranking, but that's just really steep. It speaks volumes to what this program has built so far. And I am going to agree with America here. Cincinnati is my pick. 98% of people agree with me. I really like the Bearcats in this game.
Right. I think the Bearcats just have a little bit too much to move on from there in that pick'em. Moving into this next matchup, I think this is one of the tougher ones of the week, and you can see America is really split on this one as well. Oklahoma State going into Texas, facing the Longhorns at their home stadium. 52% of America has gone with the 4-2 Longhorns. They rank 25th in the nation. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, however, ranked 12th. 48% of America has gone with them. They've had a great year as well. They've got a key running back I think you want to highlight for that team. What's really the matchups to watch, and who are you going with in this game?
Jaylen Warren for Oklahoma State has really hit the national spotlight. The thing about him is he was never highly coveted out of high school, and he really kind of burst onto the season, specifically this season. His freshman year, he also ran for 500 yards, but this year he's already got 500 in only 5 games. So really impressive start for his year. But Texas, obviously a very tough loss last week. However, they are at home. It's really tough to go into Texas and get a win. And Oklahoma, despite them being 5-0 and also ranked 12th in the nation, they are the underdog in this pick'em. Reason being, Texas is very, very tough to beat at home. And they also played Oklahoma very, very competitively and should have really won that game. I am going to go with Texas in this matchup.
So Austin here going with the Longhorns. Oklahoma State, the key to their success is going to be their running back, Jaylen Warren. He's averaging almost 25 touches a game at this point in the season. So if the Cowboys are going to take down Texas at home, they need to rely on that running game to get it done. Moving into our next game, we have the Florida Gators, who 91% of America's picked. They're at 4-2, currently ranked 20th in the nation, going up against the 3-3 LSU Tigers. This game is going to be played in Baton Rouge. And of course, the LSU Tigers have had a serious drop-off since their 2019 national championship run with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and a ton of other talent on that team. Austin, talk about why you're picking the Florida Gators here, if my assumption's correct, and then also break down what's going on with LSU.
LSU is just really tumbling as a program right now. They have a promising young quarterback in Max Johnson, who is the son of a Super Bowl champion, Brad Johnson. But the issue for Max Johnson is they cannot run the football. They have a collection of backs that they thought they'd like going into the season, but they have not been able to get it done on the ground. It's not completely on the running back room because the offensive line has been equally as bad. So the rushing game is really out of the question for these LSU Tigers, and they've been so pass dependent. Kayshon Boutte has been a consistent and great target. He's going to be a first-round pick very, very soon when he is draft eligible. However, outside of that, they don't have a ton of big playmakers that they've really been able to groom thus far. LSU is really in a position where they might consider moving on from Coach O if this does not pick up. I know that might be a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, just considering he won a national championship 2 years ago. But this is some of the conversations that might be being had behind closed doors. Florida, they've been a consistent team this year. They obviously lost to Alabama in a close game. I like them a lot better, even though they're heading into LSU to play this game. So Florida is going to be my pick.
Right. Talking about LSU, they've just had a massive drain of talent and also a brain drain there. Joe Brady left for the NFL. Then you lose talents like Joe Burrow, the first overall pick, Jamar Chase, a top 5 pick later on in the following draft, Justin Jefferson, who was one of the best rookie wideouts we've ever seen. Losing that much talent is hard for a program. We've seen the Florida Gators go into places, get wins before, and I think this is another example of that. Moving down into our next game here, this is one of the other great games of the week. We have two 6-0 teams. We have the Kentucky Wildcats, who I think is one of the fan favorites at this point, a team that many people believe should be ranked top 10 with their performance this year, find themselves just on the outside at rank 11. And then we have the Georgia Bulldogs, who I think are widely considered the favorites in all of college football to walk away with the national championship. Austin, does Kentucky have a real chance at pulling away in this game? I know you consider Georgia that favorite in the SEC.
I think Georgia is going to win this game, but let's talk a little bit about Kentucky. Last week, they were absolutely dominant against LSU. They really controlled every phase of the game, but Georgia is just so tough defensively to really rush against or even throw against, but also they have a very, very potent rush game on the ground on offense. They have 2 5-star running backs that will just hit you right in the mouth. It's tough to beat Georgia, especially in Georgia. I feel very confident in this game.
The Bulldogs walking away with this one. This is one of those key games for Georgia to basically lock up a potential spot in the college football playoffs. This is going to be a great game to watch this weekend. Moving into our next one, we have the actual number 2 seed here, the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think a team that not many people expected to be ranked number 2 at this point of the season. Of course, had a big win over Penn State last week, and they're going up against the Purdue Boilermakers, who have a key defensive player on that defensive line in George Karlaftis. He's going to be a guy to watch for the back end of round 1 come the NFL draft. Austin, do the Boilermakers have a chance here in Iowa with how well the Hawkeyes have been playing? And then also, how much do you really buy into the Hawkeyes?
Yeah, for the Iowa Hawkeyes, this kind of feels a little bit like a trap game where they could potentially go in and maybe get down early. I don't think that they're going to lose this game. I'm still going to pick Iowa. I just don't think they are as strong as people are really making them out to be. If they went up against other top SEC talent, maybe they wouldn't be in that 6-0 realm. But Iowa, they are a very good football team. They're very balanced as well. I'm going to take Iowa in this game. Could be a little bit of a trap game, and maybe Purdue will put up a pretty good fight early. However, the Hawkeyes will pull away.
Right. We see a little bit too much talent there for Iowa. They walk away with this one based off Austin's predictions, which leads us into another game that I think is very divided. We have the BYU Cougars. Last week, they lost a game, and it's kind of hurt them a lot. They were ranked 12th 2 weeks ago in the AP Top 25, now find themselves 19th, and only 37% of America's picking them as they go into a tough opponent facing the Baylor Bears, a program that's historically been very good. They have a lot of talent there. Their only loss this season comes to a ranked opponent as well. They have a very tough schedule coming up. Baylor does. They face 3 out of their 4 next games are ranked opponents, including BYU here. Do you think that this could be a momentum game for Baylor where they come in, set the tone early at home, and take it away from the Cougars? Or do you think the Cougars get the job done here in Baylor?
I think BYU has done a really nice job transitioning from their offense that they had last year with Zach Wilson. But I think that, that loss last week to Boise State, that was a tough one because Boise State went right in and they definitely stuck it to BYU right away. And it ended up being too much for BYU to come back from. Baylor's a really tough team as well. Their only loss came to Oklahoma State, who is ranked currently at the 12th spot. I'm going to take BYU in this game. So there's your very first upset according to these Pickem numbers. I like BYU on the road.
Right. BYU here, I think a little bit more talented. It'll be interesting to see if they can overcome some of that momentum that they lost with last week's loss, and then also go into Baylor and get the job done. Moving into our next matchup here, we have the Pittsburgh Panthers versus the Virginia Tech Hokies, 2 teams that have produced a lot of NFL talent over the years. Austin, I know you keep a very close eye on the Hokies and also the Panthers. Really, what team do you think walks away with this one? I think this is one of the more spread matchups here.
Now, this is going to be a close game. Virginia Tech put up a heck of a fight against Notre Dame last week. Very well could have won that game. There were many chances where they could have. A couple of key mistakes led to their loss, but it was a narrow margin of victory for Notre Dame. Pittsburgh started off very, very hot this season. I'm not sure how many people really anticipated them starting how well they have. I'm still going to take Virginia Tech at home, though. I really like them. I know they have 2 losses on the season. However, that Notre Dame game really, really showed me that they can compete. I think this is a very underrated team, despite the 2 losses.
Right. Notre Dame has been ranked 14th in the AP Top 25 the last 2 weeks. Virginia Tech played them very close, a team that I think at home probably should get the job done against Pitt. Moving into our very next matchup, we have the Iowa State Cyclones, who have a lot of talent, including a very talented running back, going up against K-State there, facing Kansas State at Kansas State. So only 24% of America actually went with K-State at home in this game. Who are you leaning towards at this point?
I think Matt Campbell's got a phenomenal program at Iowa State. People had high expectations for this team heading into the season as they were ranked inside the top 10, and 2 losses really kind of pushed them to the back burner in a lot of people's minds. I do like Iowa State still on the road. K-State has played some competitive games this year, and they also had a very, very close one against Oklahoma where they very well could have pulled that one out. I'm going to take Iowa State, though. I think they're better suited, even though they're on the road. I believe in them overall more than I do K-State, even at home.
Moving into our very next matchup, we have North Carolina State, the Wolfpack, at rank 22 going into Boston College. Of course, Boston College, the Eagles right now do not have their starting quarterback, expected to miss possibly the rest of the season. Does that impact your pick in this game? I know America's leaning with the Wolfpack even on the road up there in Boston College. Is your pick still going to be North Carolina State?
I'm going to take NC State in this game. They picked up a huge win against Clemson earlier in the year that kind of brought them to the national spotlight once again. Boston College, if they were healthy, I would have maybe considered them a little more than I did in this game. I think it should be, a good game for sure, but NC State will probably take this one on the road, just considering the injuries that Boston College has suffered.
Right. Health is definitely a factor in this one. As we move now to our last game of this pick'em, we've got the 18th ranked Sun Devils versus the Utah Utes. Utah has historically produced a lot of defensive back play over the last 2 drafts. We've seen quite a few defensive backs come out of Utah, usually days 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. And Arizona State's kind of burst onto the scene in recent years. What team here do you expect to get the job done in this matchup?
Once again, close game. Utah at home, they're always tough to beat there. I like Arizona State in this game, just considering that I just think they have the better roster. Herb Edwards has done a great job with this Arizona State squad. So I'm going to take Arizona State in this game. However, I think once again, this should be a closer matchup. And then I'm going to transition to the bottom here. How many total points will be scored with UCF and Cincinnati? I think this is a game very well that could get into where Cincinnati's scoring, 35 points or so. I think UCF is kind of in that spot where they might even score 20 or so. I'm going to go 55 as my combined total points. What's your thoughts on that?
I think 55 is very reasonable. It depends on really how much I think Cincinnati pushes down on the gas, especially throughout the game. I expect Cincinnati to get up early, and I think that's going to really impact what they do offensively. If they try and run clock, or if they try and really step on UCF possibly. The one thing is they're considering ranking right now and importance of winning games big. So maybe that's one reason why they would still push on the gas pretty hard 3rd and 4th quarter. But they also might be trying to value health and keeping their guys healthy, rested, and refreshed. So maybe they play a little bit slower down the back end of the game. Awesome. Final question here for the video. Out of all these games, if you had to recommend one must watch for our viewers, which of these 10 games would you select?
For me personally, I think it's the Oklahoma State-Texas game. I think that's the closest matchup in terms of overall roster talent. The stakes of it, just considering them both being in the Big 12, it's a must-win for really both squads. Oklahoma State, they could afford to lose the game, but I think they're really vying for that top 10 position and maybe even getting into that conversation of potentially college football playoff. This is the most open it's been in years for that college football playoff, jockeying for position for it. So I think Oklahoma State, with that signature win in Texas, that could really push them near that top 5.
Right. For Oklahoma State, it just takes a couple teams to drop a few games at the top and then some big wins themselves to really move up the rankings. That's a situation to monitor. We'll keep you guys up to date on everything college football. Remember, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, leave a like and stay tuned for more college football content on the channel. Thanks again so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.